There was a moment no one was supposed to notice. Not the cameras. Not the reporters. Not the fans packed into the stands. But it happened anyway. A tense exchange. A walk off the court in Manila. A young star who looked, just for a second, less like a national hero and more like a 20-year-old carrying too much weight. Alex Eala had just done the tennis world months earlier. She had beaten 3 Grand Slam champions in a single tournament. She had walked through Miami like someone rewriting destiny. But this wasn't Miami. This was home. And home can be heavier than any stadium in the world. To understand what really happened in that locker room, you have to rewind long before Manila. Long before the wild cards and the headlines. Back to 2018. A 12-year-old girl from Quezon City boarded a plane to Spain. She left behind family dinners, birthdays, school friends, and everything familiar. Her destination? Rafa Nadal Academy in Manacor. For most families, that call is a dream. For Alex and her family, it was a sacrifice. Because the academy is not built to protect feelings. It's built to create champions. Long practices. Tactical repetition. Fitness sessions that push past comfort. A system designed to sharpen talent, not cushion it. Alex adapted quickly. Coaches admired her discipline. She listened. She absorbed. She worked. But listening doesn't mean never questioning. As the years passed, she evolved, from scholarship prodigy to junior Grand Slam champion to rising professional. With growth came change. And with change came new coaching voices. Daniel Gomez. Then Alexandro Sandro Vienna. Eventually Joan Bosch. Each transition was presented publicly as natural progression. And sometimes it was. But multiple coaching changes in a short span are rarely seamless. Every coach brings a philosophy. Every coach carries a system. Every coach sees a finished version of a player they believe they can build. But here's the part no press conference ever fully answers. What did Alex believe? As her ranking climbed and expectations multiplied, the instructions from the bench grew louder. Adjust the serve. Refine the footwork. Change the patterns. Trust the system. Trust the process. But what happens when instinct clashes with instruction? Late 2024 brought another shift. New preseason. New approach. Long days filled with double tennis sessions and double fitness sessions. Publicly, the language was optimistic, productive, positive, promising. Privately, the pressure was enormous. Entering 2025, Alex wasn't just a prospect anymore. She was expected to break the top 100, to justify the sacrifice, to validate the academy model, to represent a nation hungry for a global tennis icon. Then came Miami. And everything ignited. As a wild card ranked outside the top tier, she stepped onto one of the biggest hard courts in the world and did the unthinkable. She beat Grand Slam champions. She handled elite power. She dismantled higher-ranked opponents with fearless precision. In one tournament, she went from hopeful to headline. When Joan Bosch later admitted how quickly it all happened, his surprise was genuine. Because success that comes fast doesn't give you time to breathe. It exposes every crack. When a player rises faster than the system anticipates, tension forms. Between strategy and instinct. Between structure and spontaneity. And here's what few people understood. Alex wasn't just growing as a tennis player. She was growing into herself. The coaching voices guiding her had been shaped by an academy system, disciplined, structured, proven. But Alex was beginning to develop her own internal compass, her own sense of timing, her own feel for risk. And that evolution doesn't always happen quietly. So when she walked off that court in Manila, looking frustrated, it wasn't about one missed forehand. It was the visible tip of something deeper. Years of sacrifice, months of pressure, weeks of system adjustments, a rise that came faster than anyone expected. And in that locker room, away from microphones and filtered headlines, something real surfaced. Not scandal, not betrayal, human friction. Because greatness isn't built in highlight reels. It's built in uncomfortable conversations. In moments when a player pushes back. In the courage to question even the people who helped build you. The story of Alex Eala isn't about conflict. It's about evolution. And evolution is rarely smooth. Behind every breakout star is a complicated process of identity, of independence, of learning when to listen and when to trust your own instincts. Manila wasn't the breaking point. It was the growing point. And sometimes, that's far more dramatic than any match point you'll ever see. The tension had been quiet for months. Then January 2026 arrived, and everything felt louder. For the first time in history, the WTA Tour landed in Manila for the inaugural Philippine Women's Open. It wasn't just another tournament. It felt like destiny unfolding in real time. Philippine Women's Open, Manila, January 2026. For the venue, Rosal Memorial Sports Complex, had been renovated and polished for the spotlight. Banners carried her name. A mural outside the complex placed Alex Eala alongside national icons like Manny Pacquiao, Hidilyn Diaz, and Carlos Yulo. Second seed. Sold-out arena. A nation holding its breath. For one round, the script was perfect. She dismantled Alina Kariva 6-1, 6-2.
Clean.
Efficient. Controlled. Every winner triggered an eruption from the stands. The dream felt inevitable. Then came the quarterfinals and Camila Osorio. What followed wasn't just a straight sets loss. It was visible discomfort. Up close, reporters noted something striking. Alex looked unsettled. Not just tactically outplayed, unsettled. And most glaringly, she looked uncomfortable on her serve. The serve. The same serve that had been dissected for months. The same serve coaches had rebuilt piece by piece. The same serve analysts insisted would unlock her top 50 ceiling. On that night, in front of her own people, it faltered. And then something happened that barely made headlines. Immediately after the loss, not hours later, not the next morning, Alex walked straight from center court to a practice court with Joan Bosch. No cooling off. No media decompression. No retreat. Practice. Think about that image. A 20-year-old who had just fallen short in the biggest home tournament of her life, stepping back onto court, visibly frustrated, working on something specific and urgent. Witnesses described the energy as intense. Not routine. Not calm. Not procedural. Intense. In those raw minutes after defeat, a conversation happened, one no journalist could record. A conversation between player and coach that had likely been brewing for months. Was she angry at herself? Almost certainly. Was she frustrated with the game plan?
Possibly.
Was it something deeper, about direction, about authority, about whose instincts should lead when margins are razor-thin? That part remains private. But those present said it did not look like extra reps. It looked like resolution. The pattern behind the moment here is the uncomfortable truth many insiders were quietly acknowledging. In roughly 12 months, Alex had worked with 3 different coaches. Daniel Gomez, Sandro Veen, Joan Bosch, 3 philosophies. 3 interpretations of her serve. 3 visions for how she should manage pressure. Now, imagine trying to stabilize your identity as a player while that carousel turns beneath you. In 2025, analysts repeatedly highlighted the serve still inconsistent under pressure, clay court movement needing refinement, tactical variation in big moments, still developing, all fair critiques. But fairness feels different when you are the most famous tennis player in your country's history, ranked inside the top 50, playing beneath a mural of your own face. Pressure compounds differently at home. Bosch himself admitted Miami happened faster than expected. Rapid ascents don't give players time to develop psychological armor. Normally, that protection is built across years of gradual progress. Alex didn't get years. She got months. When success accelerates that quickly, every technical flaw becomes louder. Every coaching decision becomes scrutinized. Every double fault invites questions. Was that her instinct? Or was it instruction? Is the coaching refining her identity? Or reshaping it entirely? What the practice court really represented that late-night session wasn't just about mechanics. It was about alignment. When a player rises at lightning speed, a delicate balance emerges. Trust the system that built you, or trust the instincts that just carried you past Grand Slam champions. In Manila, those 2 forces seemed to collide. Not explosively, but quietly. And quiet tension can be more powerful than public drama. The practice session became symbolic, the visible edge of a storm that had been forming beneath the surface. A storm fueled by expectation, technical overhaul, national pride, and the speed of her own ascent. What the public saw was a young star trying to fix her serve. What insiders sensed was something bigger, a player negotiating control over her own evolution. Because here's the truth about meteoric rises. They are exhilarating on the outside. They are destabilizing on the inside. And sometimes, growth doesn't look like triumph. Sometimes it looks like a frustrated 20-year-old on a practice court at night, trying to decide who she is becoming and who gets to help shape that future. After Manila, the noise didn't stay inside the stadium. It moved online. Filipino fans who had poured their hearts into the tournament began searching for explanations. Some defended her fiercely. Others dissected every double fault. Questions spread quickly. Was the serve ready? Was the game plan right against Camila Osorio? Was the coaching aligned with the player? For the first time, the scrutiny wasn't aimed only at Alex Eala. It was aimed at her camp. And that meant Joan Bosch. A coach who had helped guide the most explosive stretch of her career suddenly found himself being evaluated not for interviews, not for statements, but for what had unfolded under stadium lights. A journalist's post summed up the moment. She went straight from center court to a practice court to work on some things. For simple words, work on some things. But inside those words was urgency, frustration, possibly disagreement, possibly clarity. The comment that changed the lens months earlier, at the 2025 Madrid Open, Bosch made a remark that sounded like praise, but carried something deeper. He described Eala as intelligent and coachable. Then he added, "It's also true that everything goes very well for her." Read carefully. That sentence reveals something delicate. A coach acknowledging that his players' instincts and natural gifts often produce results that stretch beyond technical structures. That sometimes her intuition wins points before mechanics catch up. That creates a fascinating tension. Because when results flow, no one questions the framework. But when they stop, the question shifts. Was the system insufficient? Or did the player's natural edge momentarily falter? In elite tennis, that line is razor thin. The Nadal layer, there's another dimension few casual fans fully grasp. Tony Nadal was the one who first recommended Eala to Bosch. The Rafa Nadal Academy isn't just a training center in her story, it's an institutional stakeholder. Her success reinforces its model. Her struggles reflect on its methodology. At one point, even Rafael Nadal himself reportedly stepped onto the practice court after noticing her serving difficulties. Bosch later shared that Nadal told her, "This used to happen to me too. Try this." Think about the weight of that moment. A 22-time Grand Slam champion demonstrating serve adjustments to a 20-year-old Filipino player navigating a technical crisis. And yet, the serve remains a work in progress, which makes the Manila practice session even more symbolic, because it wasn't just about correcting grip or toss. It was about identity. The real question, the question being quietly worked through on that practice court after the Osorio loss, wasn't technical. It was timeless. When does coaching elevate a player, and when can it unintentionally overcomplicate what was already working? Eala's rise has been unusually fast. She now commands center courts without decades of seniority. That kind of acceleration changes locker room dynamics. It invites comparisons. It amplifies expectations. And internally, it creates friction between two versions of a player, the one evolving naturally through instinct and confidence, the one being systematically constructed through drills and technical frameworks. Both are valid. Both are necessary. But balancing them is delicate. Perspective matters. She is 20. As of February 2026, she is ranked world number 31, the highest ranking ever achieved by a Filipino player. She has beaten major champions like Madison Keys and Yelena Ostapenko. She has done things her country had never seen in women's tennis. And somewhere inside that rapid ascent is a young woman asking a deeply human question. How much of this is the system that built me? And how much of it is simply me? What happened after Manila? Here's what matters most. She didn't retreat.
She didn't blame.
She didn't distance herself from the work. She practiced. Immediately. Visibly. Relentlessly. That's not scandal. That's character. The coaching tension surrounding her is not evidence of collapse. It's evidence of growth. It's what happens when talent begins pressing against the container that shaped it. That friction isn't destructive. It's developmental. Alex Eala's story isn't a fairy tale.
It's better than that.
It's about a 12-year-old who left home for Spain. About years inside a demanding academy system. About breaking national records. About absorbing expectations no Filipino tennis player had carried before. And about standing on a practice court after a devastating home loss, still working, still fighting, still refusing to accept less than her best version. If she navigates this phase the way she navigated Miami, with intelligence, discipline, and that quiet competitive fire, what comes next may redefine everything we think we've already seen. Because sometimes the real breakthrough doesn't happen during the winning streak. It happens in the moment after the loss. And Manila might one day be remembered not as a setback, but as the turning point.